Talking with the experts.
Join me in episode 284 with Anton Guinea as we discuss leading under pressure.
When leaders say that to someone, like, no, that's a crappy idea, or no, we're not going to do that. And if they don't say it right, if they don't choose their words carefully, team members are really hurt. Like, when we're not heard, we're hurt. We're not heard, we're hurt. And that's a really simple thing that I'd love leaders to take away, that, it's only a matter of listening carefully and listening with care factor, so that, when we're dealing with other humans, we're doing no harm. And that's the secret as even the best leaders that I know still don't get it right all the time. It's just that we've got to get it right more times than get it wrong. Yeah. Here's another one for you, Rose, and this is a fun one. Now just tell me what you feel. Just go on a little journey with me here, just for 3 or 4 seconds. So you come to me with an idea and I'm your leader, and I say, great, Rose. Now, Rose, that's a really, really good idea, but.
Welcome to Talking with the Experts. This is where we discuss great ideas to take your business to the next level. How do we know these ideas work? Well, it's because we're talking with business owners who are using these ideas. Business owners who have years of experience and expertise. All things business by business owners for business owners. And now, here is your host, Rose Davidson.
Oh, you want me to do an intro?
And hello, and welcome to Talking with the Experts. My name's Rose Davidson from rosedavidson.com. Talking with the Experts is about all things business by business owners for business owners, and you can find it on all good podcasting streaming platforms and on YouTube. Let me ask you, are you a good leader? Can you lead well under pressure? Well, my next guest, Anton Guinea, is going to discuss that with us and how we can all lead under pressure. So Anton is an entrepreneur, he's a speaker, he's a best-selling author and the founder of the Guinea Group of companies. For over 17 years, Anton has helped leaders move their teams to become psychologically safe, physically safe, and overall better versions of themselves. He has spoken and consulted to businesses of all sizes around Australia and in the world, and he brings energy, engagement, and enterprise thinking to his sessions. And we'll discuss where we can find Anton a little bit later on. But welcome, Anton, and thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me, Rose. And what a great podcast, what a great product you're developing for the world and sharing so much information. So it's actually really, really an honour and a privilege to be working with you and to be sharing this with your audience. So keep up the great work.
Thank you. You've made my day.
Good.
So business leaders generally are quite busy. Now, we know that there's a difference between being a manager and being a leader, and I've discussed that several times on this podcast about the differences. Leaders come to work and, they see their email list and they just, it's just busy. But how can they be a great leader when they're under so much pressure to do all these other outside things?
Let me talk about 2 spaces. First, the people space, and then the process space, Rose. So process, and every leader would have heard prioritize, delegate, Let me jump into the people's or the personal space first. How we actually, from a human to human, manage that. And what I mean when I say manage that is lead under pressure in a way that we don't do no harm. So that when we walk in, we see 1,000 emails and we go, how the heck did they all come in last night? Then someone comes into the office with the first challenge of the day while we're getting a phone call. And while we're on the phone, a text message comes through, and all of a sudden we're swamped and we're overwhelmed and we're trying to deal with all of these challenges in the moment. And I love what you said then. We're also busy. Business leaders and leaders in general are just busy humans, and I get it. And I think the best example that I can give you, Rose, happened on March 27, 2022, which is a fantastic day for the planet to see how to lead under pressure and how not to. And I think the Will Smith example was a great one, because I think what we saw then was how not to, how to lead under pressure. See, all of those things that we come into, whether it's an email list, whether it's a phone call, whether it's someone needing help, really all they are is external impetus, or they're just the things that come into our sensory awareness. They're just impetus or things that need to be actioned. Here's the thing. We can let those things trigger us, or we can take charge. We can be triggered or we can take charge. Now, what that really means is, so when I say we can be triggered, where our emotions are stored is at the back of our brain in our limbic system, and words have power in them. So the thing about leadership under pressure is really about having this conscious control to know that we're ready for no matter what people can say to us or how they say it, even if it's in a bit of an aggressive way. I need this done now. Okay, cool. Thank you for letting me know. There's a real way to respond with conscious control, because our emotional control, Rose, drives our behavioral control. So whatever we feel drives how we behave. Now, how we behave determines whether we can control a situation or not, and that's the key. Emotional control drives situational control. And because we're bombarded so much with so much external stimulus, we really need to be able to, from an emotional perspective, and we're not even talking process yet, like, yeah, Ali and I just did our daily thing, and if I move this, you'll see our board behind us for our actions. Like I get the action piece, but it's really this emotional control. It's this staying present. It's about knowing that your words have power in them. And you can very quickly and easily, as a leader or as a human, hurt another human by not having that, just by saying something that you think in the moment, and you give yourself permission in the moment to say or do, as Will Smith did. So we're going to remember that for the rest of our lives, the Will Smith thing, right? Because it was so powerful. It was so, there's so much energy in that. And it was so wrong what Will Smith did. And it was so uncalled for, right? There's so many things about that. Now, you could probably remember, and I say this in my talks, Rose, that I say to people, just remember the conversation that a leader had with you that really hurt your heart. And I say, how long ago was that? Oh, about 30 years or 20 years or 10 years. People don't forget them. So as leaders, what we need to know is that we have this responsibility to remain in control so that we don't hurt other humans, so that in 20 years' time, they're not talking about Rose or Anton saying, geez, they were a crappy leader because they couldn't control their emotions. And every time it went south, they blew up, right? We don't want to be that leader. So that's the first part, is this emotional control, and it's emotional intelligence, emotional quotient, whatever you want to call it. Daniel Goleman wrote the book on it, where it's, self-awareness and self-regulation of our emotions, and social awareness and social regulations in a matrix. But it all comes back to, knowing how we're feeling about a situation and knowing what our triggers are, because there will be things that trigger us. And so we've got to know how to respond to those triggers. So this emotionality piece is really important, Rose. It's a big, big deal in 2022, which I think a lot of leaders actually don't get. So here's probably a quick way to, after 5 minutes, to answer that question. So we all most humans will reach sexual maturation. We'll get to 13, 14, 15, where our bodies will change. And the way that we define sexual maturation, as everyone knows, is being able to conceive or to produce another human, to be able to reproduce. So that's sexual maturation. Here's the question for leaders. When do you reach emotional maturation? And when have we? I know. Great body language. Great body language. When can we say, when can you and I put a hand on our hearts, or when can a leader put their hand on their heart and say, well, I've reached emotional maturity?
No, I haven't reached it yet.
Me either. But it's good to be working towards it, right?
Well, they say that men are 30 and women are about 25. It's what they say. But, people still... still don't use the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 rule. They don't stop to think before they open their mouth. They don't engage brain first.
Beautifully put. And the part of the brain that we need to engage is what we call these frontal lobes, Rose. These frontal lobes are designed to quell, to calm, to squash all of that emotion before it can get out of control. The problem is that our emotions react before our frontal lobe does. And we have this reaction in 0.12 of a second. That's how long it takes, 0.12 of a second. Literally, we've reacted. And if that happens in such a way that the emotional reaction is so high, your frontal lobe won't even get to it. It won't even get a chance to say, hey, 3, 2, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, count backwards from 10 or count to 10. And so that's the challenge that we're fighting with as humans, this whole, this natural response, because we've got so much sensory stimulus, and, we blocked most of it out because we couldn't really process it all at one time. But the things that we hear or we see, in another human, and it's prehistoric, we're designed, we are put together 10,000 years ago to make a 0.12 second decision about another human.
It's life or death, really, isn't it? And a lot of people haven't learned to control their emotions. I mean, most times I can control them, but if something triggers me because of a past memory or a past event, then the mouth goes before you think, and then, oh God, why did I say that? That was really bad and that was so hurtful, and you can't take it back because it's already said, it's out in the universe.
Beautifully summed up, Rose. Love that. Well said. And then what people do, Rose, some leaders will go back and say, sorry, I'm really, really sorry I said that. And then they'll blame their emotions. And they'll say, oh, I'm just angry today because I kicked the cat this morning, or, whatever. And instead of apologizing properly and saying, you know what, I'm really sorry that I did that, because it's not my intent to hurt you as another human. And my commitment to you is that I will make sure, and I would say this, I won't let it happen again. But that's a massive statement to make, right? And if you feel like you're committed to that, say that. But that's a better apology than, sorry, I'm just shitty today.
Yeah, right? What does that mean, really?
What I tell you what it means, Rose, and I'll tell you what people hear. Oh, so you're shitty, so you've got no emotional control. Okay, cool. Thanks for letting me know. Good to know for future.
That's it.
So,
so why would you bother going to that person with an issue if you don't know if they've had a shitty day or a shitty morning, or they kicked the cat?
What version of our leader are we getting today? Sometimes, there's people that actually say that to me in coaching sessions. What version of my leader am I going to get today? I don't know, because they don't have this consistency. And that's the big thing, right? We want people to show up in our lives, especially those that are leading us, given that parenting is the most important job on planet Earth, I believe, and leading is the second most important. So we need our leaders to show up with this emotional consistency band, right? So that we can trust them not to fly off the handle when we say something that, like we have faux pas too as team members, we might say the wrong thing that might trigger a leader, or a leader might say something that triggers us as a team member. So there's this whole emotional consistency that needs to happen. Otherwise we start damaging relationships. And what happens, Rose, is that there's this other part to our Venn diagram. So we have control, care factor, and then courage. And I'll tell you about the care factor piece. A little company that you might have heard of that we use pretty regularly, starts with a G when we need to find information out. They did a study 2012 to 2014, and they said, what's it take to create highly effective teams? What's it create to bring people into the mix? What's it take to create a really successful business of 37,000 people, is how many were at Google at the time? Do you know what they came up with? Psychological safety, Rose. They're the words. The one thing that makes Google, they said, Project Aristotle, it's called, psychological safety. So what's psychological safety? It's when leaders particularly, and other team members, don't ridicule, resent, or rebut, whatever another R word is, when someone has an idea, opinion, or a view. So it's about being open to suggestions. It's about listening with care factor. It's about saying, great idea, appreciate that. Look, that might work or it might not. Let's unpack it further. Not, no, that won't work, or no, you don't know what you're talking about, or no, you're not smart enough to come up with that idea.
Isn't that horrible when someone says that to you? No, that's not going to work, or I don't like that idea, or they don't even give it some thought or some credit, just for having the idea in the first place.
That's right, Rose. And when leaders say that to someone, like, no, that's a crappy idea, or no, we're not going to do that. And if they don't say it right, if they don't choose their words carefully, team members are really hurt. Like, when we're not heard, we're hurt. We're not heard, we're hurt. And that's a really simple thing that I'd love leaders to take away, that, it's only a matter of listening carefully and listening with care factor, so that, when we're dealing with other humans, we're doing no harm. And that's the secret as even the best leaders that I know still don't get it right all the time. It's just that we've got to get it right more times than get it wrong. Yeah. Here's another one for you, Rose, and this is a fun one. Now, just tell me what you feel. Just go on a little journey with me here, just for 3 or 4 seconds. So you come to me with an idea and I'm your leader, and I say, great, Rose. Now, Rose, that's a really, really good idea, but
Yeah.
nice reaction. Leaders don't get that. Leaders don't get the power of the words that they use. It's a simple 3-letter word that you just saw your reaction. Then I hope, so for all the viewers out there that are watching Rose Davidson and Anton Guinea go at this today, please, 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 if you take nothing away from this, please rewind this and watch Rose's reaction, because that's what the internal reaction that people have when you say the word great idea, but, it's just a horrible word to say, especially when
it doesn't matter where you are. You could go to anyone, and you go to your child and they come and they come and have a conversation, and you answer them, you say but. So they also already know that you don't like that idea. They already know that they're not going to be listened to for the rest of their idea at all. And you're right, it is such a powerful word. It's only 3 letters. However, it is one of the most feared words in the English language.
Well said. Perfect. And so there'll be leaders out there listening to this, Rose, and they go, well, you know what? Yeah, I use that a lot. I say, okay, cool. So what could I use differently? Really simple. Just replace but with and. Great idea. And I wonder how we can investigate that further. And let's unpack it, and maybe there's a different way. Let's put our thinking caps on. The word and is very inclusive, brings people into the circle, right? So, but to and that comes from the book Fierce Conversations by Susan Scott, which so I really, really highly recommend every reader reads the book's Fierce Conversations, because it's such a great book. And I'd love people to think about, so we talk a lot about not so much fierce conversations, but caring conversations. Let's have caring conversations.
It's very important, isn't it? To, even if you don't like somebody on first impression, it's always important to, bring your A game, and, even if you have to pretend that you like them, but, use kind words. If we use kinder words in the world, then I think we'd be in less trouble.
Agreed. 1,000%, Rose. Thanks for sharing. Wouldn't that be great? Wouldn't that be great if leaders knew the power of caring words and caring conversations and kinder words? My lovely wife, Rose, just on that topic, is a school teacher. And she's a grade 6 school teacher this year. She has this saying, be kinder than is necessary. And that's just such a powerful statement, be kinder than is necessary.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And the other,
yeah, I totally agree with that. But on the sort of getting off, still continuing on the leadership theme, we are all leaders in some way. It doesn't matter whether you're the leader of a team, but you've got to lead yourself. So we're all leaders in some way.
Agreed. Self-leadership is such an important thing, right? So what do you think? Well, this is probably a question, Rose, as we're talking. So for your listeners and viewers out there, if I ask your listeners and viewers, what is the one positive character trait or one value that people could demonstrate to demonstrate that they have got self-leadership, what would it be? And I'm going to talk for a little while before I give you the answer to that one. And you'll know when I give you the definition of what that character trait is. As leaders,
it would be compassion.
Absolutely, which is a part of empathy. Which is the third part of empathy, according to Daniel Goleman. Absolutely. So compassion is about caring for others and actually taking action, Ros. So the 3 levels of empathy is the cognitive. Oh yeah, I get it. So someone rings you on a Monday morning, Rose, and you've got a really big week ahead and you need this person to help you with all your projects. And they say, I can't come in for the week because my cat's died. Now, are you a cat person?
Yes, I love
Cool.
I love all animals.
Animals, right. So you'd get into that, right? You'd go, okay, cool, I get it. There's some leaders out there that for them, they go, really? We've got work to do. Your cat's died. So we've got to now cognitively go, there are some people that really, really miss, that love their animals. We've got to try and put ourselves into a place of how we feel, how they're...
Would you feel if your cat died? Would you want to go to work? No. You'd want to grieve, at least for a day. It might not be for the week, but for the day.
That's right.
So you've got to put yourself in someone else's shoes. You can't just say, no, we have work to do.
Some leaders do though, Rose.
I know, and I don't like those leaders. I don't think they're good leaders at all.
Well said. And so we've got to sort of put ourselves in their space, right? And the compassion piece, Rose, is a really interesting one, because compassion is actually taking action to help. This is what people don't realize. And I love the fact that you brought the word up, compassion. Helping someone else through your actions. So for that person, if they need a week, maybe it's a week, or you say, look, is 3 days enough? Or is 4 days enough? Can we come back on Friday? Maybe the action is, hey, are you okay? Do you need me to help you with the vet? Have you got enough money to pay for a funeral? What can I do for you to serve? That's compassion. Not many people get that part of compassion. And how can I help? And they might say, no, I'm okay. I'm getting through it. I'm getting through this. Okay. The thing about compassion, though, is being there for another human and giving your time, your talent, or your treasure when you need to.
You need to be heart-centered, don't you? I don't know. I'm naturally heart-centered anyway. So, I find it easy to empathize with people if there's, their cat died or whatever, it's easy for me, but it's not so easy for others. I understand that.
And that's the challenge, Rose, isn't it? How do we teach leaders that, 1, aren't heart-centered, that 2, have got all this going on, that probably don't have much of this? How do we then get them to the space of where they're compassionate, where they're caring, where they're in control, care factor, and they have courage? Here's a thought. Here's one of the other things that I think from a self-leadership perspective: integrity. So if I ask your listeners out there for a definition of integrity, we'd probably get different definitions. Integrity is about saying what you're going to do and then going and doing it, because you know that your team's hanging off every word. And then especially when it's like those emotional conversations, like if you say you're going to help someone, please follow through. Because leaders will forget what they've said. Oh, did I commit to that? Or did I promise that? Or did I say we were going to do that? Yeah, and that happens, and we have this thing called miscommunication. I get that. And at the end of the day, though, what we've really got to do is make sure that from a self-leadership perspective, and this starts at home, right, Rose? This is like, if we say we're going to go and run a marathon, or we're going to go and do some self-development, or we're going to go and do a knitting class, or we've got a calligraphy course there. If we say we're going to do that, follow through and get it done. Because if we don't, that affects our own confidence, and we can actually get a little bit down about that if we're not hitting our own goals for ourselves.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that.
So that's a real integrity thing. So I love what you said, self-leadership. Do the self-leadership work, Rose, that it takes to help you develop the skills that you need to be emotionally controlled, care factor, and compassionate, and then have that courage to try, tell, and trust.
So what's the process then, Anton?
Process. Oh, the process. Great stuff. So that's the people part, right? So process. All I say to leaders, Rose, is how long is your to-do list? How long is your to-do list for today?
How long's a bit of string?
That's right. So here's a little tip for leaders. And I got this from a person that runs a $500 million business. I listened to him on stage one day, and he said, here's the thing, we all have 10 items on our to-do list. There's only 2 to 3 of those that are actually going to really crank the wheel today to actually.
They're really important, and they really must have to do things. Yes. Yeah, I understand about to-do lists. Yes.
That's it.
We all write them, and then really there's only 2 or 3 things that are really, critical.
So why don't we just start with those? Why don't we just circle those and say everything else is nice to do? These are the need to do's. Let's just get them started. Let's get them done. Now, I think, Rose, that the word delegation's probably been overused in all the years over time for leaders. And so I get that it's been overused, though I still think instead of delegation, I want to use the word allocation.
Well, I'd put share.
Oh, share.
The workload.
That's a compassionate way to put it, Rose. I love it. Absolutely. 100%. So how do we share the workload so that we're all even in our workload? And as a leader, if there's something that I need help with, reach out and ask. Who in my team could I ask to do this? Especially if it's 1, 2, or those 3 things that, if you don't think you're going to get to them, share. I love that word.
Yeah, and you can, someone might be able to do it better than you anyway. This is what great leaders do. They hire people who know more than they do and who are better than them in certain areas.
Well said. Well said. And then the challenge for some leaders is that they hire those humans and then they don't utilize them to their full capacity and let them reach their full potential.
That's it. And they become bored and they leave and find somewhere else.
That's right. That's right. So let's share our workload. Let's give people the opportunity to shine, Rose. And I think there's a couple of great words that came out of McGregor Burns's work, 70s, 80s, transformational leadership. Let people step into their full potential, let them shine and let them do their thing and let them be the humans that they want to be as well. And be flexible, like the big deal these days is have flexibility as a leader. So there might be people in your team that don't want to work 9 to 5. They want to work 8 to 4 or 10 to whatever, or they might want to work from home, or they might want to whatever, or have smoke or lunch at different times. I think there's so many ways from a process perspective that we can actually engage other humans, and we can make sure that they feel as though they're loved and valued, and that we demonstrate compassion, love that word, and we share the work with them so that in a way that helps them become the best versions of themselves that they can be. And therefore, as a leader, we see our team shine. And then we can give people the team credit. I say to a leader, great job. And great leaders always say, hey, it's not me. I don't do anything. It's my team that's doing the work. And as soon as the leader says that, great, you've really got the hang of this. You know that it's about a team effort. Or there's a lot of leaders that want to take credit, right? Yeah, great job. Yeah, I know. Go me. Yep. I've got this. Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah. They do nothing, and the team does all the work, and they take all the credit. I so dislike that. And I used to work in a workplace like that, and it was like, why would you do that? You didn't do anything. I just gave you the brief of evidence, and then you say that you got the prosecution. Well, you didn't. I did.
So you've experienced this. What industry was that in, Roz? Was that in the legal profession, obviously?
No, law enforcement.
Were you in law enforcement?
Yeah, I was a customs officer for a number of years.
Did we ever see you on Border Force or Border Patrol?
Oh, absolutely not. No, Border Force came out long after I left.
Right. Bummer. I was going to go back and do some Googling. Did you catch any baddies, just out of interest, just as a side?
I had a couple of prosecutions, successful ones. One was for importation of narcotics, and the other was for routing the diesel fuel system, the diesel fuel rebate system.
Go you, Rose. Top job. Making a little difference. And now you're making a difference in the podcasting industry.
I am, yes. I'm hoping to. I'm hoping that what I do helps others.
Oh, sure it would. Sure it would, Rose. Keep up the good work is my message.
Thank you. Anton, have you written a book on this conscious leadership?
Written on my 5-authored book, Rose, which is cool. This one's halfway done. would you believe? And it's called Boom, BOOM. Keep an eye out for it. And when the world goes boom, what do we do? And one of the things, so maybe I can send you a link to the books and where you can find those on our website.
It would be terrific. Thank you.
Yeah, anytime. And there's some ebooks on there too at a much reduced rate. So it's fairly easy to get an ebook and have a look at those. So Rose, the history of this, you've got some border force history. My history is that I was an electrician back in the day, and I got blown up in a switchboard and nearly killed at work. And so, yeah, I know, right? Yeah. So I had some of my face blown off, and my hands were pretty badly burnt. And I spent many years sort of ruminating on that, and probably with PTSD. And I really struggled to grapple with why that happened. And then I actually worked for really crappy leaders that went when something went boom, they did too. Like they just went boom. And and I've really seen that aggression and abuse and abruptness. And then finally, last year, May 21st last year, there was an industry up here, a power station that actually exploded. And I've done a video on this, so I can even send you the link to that, of these 3 boom events that changed my life. And being on site where there was a massive, major world scale event where it was literally a boom because the whole plant blew up. And because power went out to everything, we didn't know who was on site. We couldn't print out a list. We couldn't do anything from a, I suppose, an electronic perspective. Everything was hard copy. Just get a piece of paper and a pen and just start taking names. Had anyone been killed? Where to?
Horrible.
Oh, it was. And what I saw the leaders do, though, Rose, was really step into leadership under pressure. And they did such a good job. And it just shifted everything we did. Like, we've done safety leadership for so many years, and this is probably only a year really, that we've done this leadership under pressure, because I saw how well these leaders did it. And I've said to them many occasions, including their CEO, Andrew Bills, just how amazing it was to see those leaders not lose their control and step into this. And that's where this model that I was telling you about, courage, care factor and control, came from, out of that, just observing that behavior. So now I'm doing a PhD in that to try and validate that model to make sure that it's relevant. Anyway, so yeah, please go to theguineagroup.com.au, grab a copy of an ebook, or obviously a hard copy book. There's 5 there. My favorite's called The Choice Point, which is about the choices that we make in life, and emotional control is really a choice. How we feel on a daily basis is a choice too. So maybe, Rose, maybe we can give away a copy or 2 of those books for postage only for your listeners, if you've got.
That's very generous, thank you.
So maybe we'll give away 3 copies of those to anyone that reaches out to maybe you or me listening to this podcast, and we'll send them a hard copy of one of our books, The Choice Point. How's that sound?
That sounds wonderful. Thank you so much.
And so on. Thank you for having me.
Anton, so where can people find you other than on your website, which is?
theguineagroup.com.au, THEGUINEA, GROUP. Here's one I prepared earlier, Rose. guineagroup.com.au. Check it out. And we do everything in the leadership under pressure space. And the 3 public courses we run are leadership, public speaking, and resilience. So we really teach people how to lead strongly, how to public speak strongly, and how to be resilient as humans. And that would probably talk to some of that personal work that we need to do as leaders to get ourselves right first.
Perfectly perfect. Any last words of wisdom, Anton, that you'd like to share with our audience?
When life goes boom, Rose, please remember it's all about creating conscious control.
Love that. Love it. Absolutely brilliant. Anton, it's been an absolute pleasure to speak with you today. I hope you'll come back on again later on in the year.
Love to. Thank you for having me.
All right. Have a great day.
Thanks, Rose.
You've been listening to Talking with the Experts, hosted by Rose Davidson. Make sure you have a look at our back catalogue over at talkingwiththeexperts.com, and be sure to subscribe to our podcast so you don't miss out on any episode. We look forward to your company next time. Talking with the Experts.